Yo, it's Eric back with another video. This one's on FIZZ, something someone asked me to take a look at. I'm really looking for some other stocks to look at, so leave in the comments on any of my videos on something you'd like me to do a video on. I really need some more content here. I'm running out of stocks and ideas, and I want to see what people want. So, this is my first time taking a look at it, so bear with me as I go through this. So if we take a look at this here, we can kind of look at the past performance and see what's going on. So as you see, we had a double top in the past, which brought us down, along with this death cross on the weekly, the yellow line crossing negative over the green and the red. But here's our bearish divergence that we had. We were straight across on the chart above, and we were slanted on the other on the RSI. And same with the left double top there that we had, straight across in the RSI, and it was lower on the right. So that was kind of what caused this big crash. Now we, obviously, as you see, we also, after we crashed, created a nice rounding bottom. And we created like a bullish divergence on the W that we created there. So I'm going to throw a line here and see kind of what caused this breakout here. So our old resistance here, this is our old line here. Just bear with me while I draw this line up. The first two wicks, the first two closest wicks here. Let's just get this perfect. Okay. So that was our recent breakout on the weekly. One thing I forgot to do during this video here was actually take a target move of this breakout here, but maybe in the next video I can get through with that and see where we could potentially have come to rather. So let's see. So we got that golden cross on the weekly, and we're about to have another cross over this 100 moving average. Now, this is on the weekly, so it's going to take a little time to play out. So we could get some up and downs in between. And I'm going to show you some of the price targets that we could be looking out for. Now, for the hell of it, let's take a look at, we're up in this golden pocket area. The 0.382 is at 75.20. That's right around where that golden cross is coming in. That next cross from the shorter moving averages over the longer. And then our 0.236 in the golden pocket was at 84.50 or so. I kind of forgot what it said. I missed it. I moved that too quick, but either way, somewhere between $84 and $85. Now this is all going to line up in a few. Now on the daily right now, we do have bearish divergence that's given us a red daily candle here. The price is higher on the right on the chart, and on the RSI we're lower on the right. So you can see this bearish divergence playing out along with the potential of a double top coming in. But, with some of the bullish signs on the weekly, even if we get some negative downswing for a little correction, to me, it's not too big of a deal, seeing that we look pretty good on the weekly as of right now. So I'm going to try to break this thing down to like the 30-minute chart and see if we can figure some stuff out. But we had this nice W recently that after we retested this breakout for support, and then we ended up having bullish divergence on this recent W here. As you see, it's higher on the right, and it's straight across on the RSI on that W in the bottom. So at the bottom, it's bullish divergence, and on the tops, it's bearish divergence. The only way you can get away with that is if the RSI actually comes up and matches the price action on the chart. But it didn't do that, and then it started to roll over. So, let's kind of take a look at this and see if I can piece this out at all and see if we find any type of resistance on this RSI. The RSI tells you a lot. I love RSI. It took me a long time to figure it out, and I do it kind of a little different than most people as far as like drawing a lot of trend lines on them, but it seems to work out for me on potential bounces and stuff like that. So right now we're in some kind of rising channel, and we've kind of been playing it a lot where we break out of it a little bit, come back in, break out of it a little bit, create bearish divergence, come back in, create bearish divergence. Opposite of what I just said. come up to the top, create bearish divergence. We come to the bottom, create bullish divergence. Now, as of right now, we are potentially catching some support on this RSI on that main dotted line in the 70 area. So, I mean, that's a pretty good sign for right now for a potential bounce. Now, we're doing some kind of consolidation on the daily, but we do see this MACD here is also giving us bearish divergence, and it's starting to roll over a little bit. So eventually it's most likely going to roll over, whether it comes all the way down or if it just, gives us a little fake out. But we're going to have to see, because as you can tell on the RSI and the daily, we have been continuously coming back down to that line, the bottom of the rising channel, and coming back up, and we're creating higher lows each time. But when we come back up higher, we're creating lower highs. So we have to keep an eye on those highs, and we need to get some higher highs in order to, be less concerned about anything. So on the 4-hourly, we're getting this bearish divergence as well. And on the MACD, we're getting a negative cross. We're about to have a negative cross. It seems like it's pointing down pretty fast. Whether it's going to be a fake out or not, we're going to have to try to figure that out. But let's draw out this rising channel or rising wedge that I was seeing play out in the RSI. So if we match up these two lowest wicks here and see what's this channel that we've been kind of bouncing in between. But you can see clear as day, that was a nice big W we got in the 4-hourly. So my guess is we're going to come back down and maybe do it again. Whether we come lower than that channel or we come higher, that's going to really insinuate how this uptrend is going to continue or not. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, hopefully we will continue on this, especially if you're in on this and you want to see this thing proceed up, which with a breakout of that big channel, as long as it's of that big triangle pattern, as long as this thing is going to continue up, I'm sure the breakout is pretty high on it. That's a pretty big pattern, so we could continue down and touch this 84.53. Now, 84.53 is a pretty good number, seeing that our weekly 0.236 of our fib retracement was right around 84.53 to 85. So we could be looking to come down there very soon. Now, you see on the TD9 flash, if you're not familiar with that, watch some of my other videos. I have gone into it quite a bit. I don't want to go into it during this. But we had a red TD9 flash, and on the daily, we're about to have a 9 cross or a 9 flash on this next candle, which would most likely be tomorrow. So if we get a red 9 flash there, and usually the lower time frames tell you what's going to happen to the bigger time frames ahead of time. So on this daily, we could be seeing a red 9 TD flash, which is going to cause a lower correction. Our daily is at 86.15, our daily 20 EMA, the yellow line. But our bottom of this channel is around 84.53. Now, with us getting this bearish divergence and this rolling over of the MACD, I am going to expect that even if we have a few bounces in between, which I'm going to show you why I see some bounces in between before we actually make it down to this $84 level. But we're going to have to watch some numbers for support and resistance I'm going to show you. But as you see, we're getting lower high, lower high, lower high. But we are getting, for the most part, somewhat on this daily, because that's a higher low, and then that's a lower low, and then that's a higher low and higher low. So if we can continue to bounce off of this trend line here, then we can create higher low, and maybe come back up once we bounce on this next bounce, and then we can finally create this higher high, which would be huge to see. But, this is going to take a little bit to play out here. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on a few things. I'll show you what the next move I'm potentially seeing is going to be. I do feel we're going to come down to this 84.53 at some point. And, we could potentially, as of right now, this trend line that we originally broke out of, we need to hold the $76 level. We don't want to break back into that thing. Now, because we're in this rising channel, doesn't potentially mean we're going to break down out of it as soon as we come down to the bottom. Usually you break down kind of towards the end of the pattern. So if that's the case, if we break down way up here, then we could be looking at a bounce in between this pattern here all the way to the end before we decide if we're going to break down bearish, which this is a bearish pattern, or if we're going to break out bullish. But if we were going to break out somewhere around that area, the top of this rising channel is $107, 107.88. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, obviously, we can break out of this thing a couple times, have fake breakouts, and then come back down, fake breakouts, come back down, and it's kind of seems like it's been trying to do that. On the weekly, we're still a 6 on the TD9. So we actually have 3 more weeks of potential bullish action, whether this correction's in betweens or not. We're looking at 3 weeks. Somewhere in this range, which would be $100, we might get we're going to get another 9 flash. So that could be a red flash. Now, not every time it gets a red flash does it have to follow it. Sometimes it ignores it for a few weeks, which causes a bigger correction when it does. Now, seeing that in this area right here, this is going to be our red TD9 flash, or green, but most of the time when you're already in an uptrend and you get a 9 flash, it's usually red. So I'm going to expect that we're going to be getting a red flash, which somewhere in that same week or the next following week would be our red week. So we'll have to keep an eye on, I'm going to write a date here and see. Right around December 14th is going to be our red 9 flash. So that would be whether it's the 14th or the following week. Usually there's corrections after a red 9 flash is when it happens. So you'd be looking at the following week after that we would most likely be seeing a red correction. And a weekly red 9 flash is a little bit more concerning than a 4-hourly or an hourly. A daily is a little bit bigger as well, but then a weekly is the biggest. So going off of that, I mean, we kind of see that we're in this rising channel, so we do expect a correction at some point, but we can't keep playing we can't keep playing with it while it's in this channel and hope for a potential breakout of it. Whether it's a fake out or not, we might still get some bigger numbers out of it, and we'll take a look in a few. But as you see, right now, we're kind of following some kind of consolidation, and I'm not sure what exactly it is yet. There's not enough data here to tell me, but we're kind of following. If we line up these recent wicks, it's showing that we're getting stopped out on some kind of resistance, and it's not an imaginary resistance, so we have to figure out what it is. So where we've kind of been catching support and resistance, I'm going to go off the first 2 wicks on the low side and the first 2 wicks on the higher side. And we obviously had that one fake out wick that came down to the 0.236 on the 4-hourly. Maybe we're creating some type of falling channel, falling wedge, which could potentially bring us down on this RSI, as we're seeing some signs pointing that way. But right now, the 0.236 is at 91.78. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for big support level as of right now. Once you start seeing us breaking below this 91 or so, then most likely we're going down to this 0.382 fib level, which we could get a nice double bottom, and that could confluence with this RSI coming down. But this is too soon to know until we start seeing this RSI get lower. But if we are going to come down to that bottom line I have on the RSI, it could be at that 87.21 potentially, or we could come down to the bottom and test that, which is the 0.5 fib, which looks like is at 85.83 or 85.53, somewhere between the 85.53 and the 84.53. So, I mean, like I said, it's too soon. I'm just throwing out support levels as of right now on the downside that we can watch out for, but we don't know where it's going to stop just yet, and we'll have to be watching the RSI to see if we're getting any closer to this line. If we're very close to this line and we're at the 0.382 at the time. But as you see, we tried to catch support on the 0.382 at one point. We failed, and then we came down pretty low to retest that pattern breakout. And then when we blasted back up, we broke right through the 0.382, didn't even catch support on it, and we just went all the way up. So now do we have to come back down and retest that 87.21 as support again? And if we can catch support, then we can continue up? I mean, that seems kind of logical to me. Usually when you break through a point of resistance so fast, the way it works is you want to come back, it wants to come back down and retest that resistance and find out if it can flip it into new support. So that's a very good possibility. But depending on how long it takes to get there, we might be so close to this area here that we might even just wick down and do another retest at the bottom of this channel. So as of right now, I'm giving you kind of a big area, but we're talking about from 84.53 to 87.15. Those are your numbers right now of your biggest supports. But like I said, we are getting a little bounce on the daily RSI as of right now. And we're going to have to take a look here and see. So on the hourly, if we go down even smaller time frames, if we are going to bounce here, which it looks like we got one bounce so far on the RSI, and we're creating this what looks like could be a little W. And this W, if it does decide to roll up, which it looks like it is going to be a bullish divergence. So this could bring us back up here over the next few hours within the morning before we, so tomorrow could actually be a decent day that could bring us up to 97.82. That's your resistance there of that rising channel. So we want to watch out for that. We could get a little fake break out of it like we did before. Maybe we'll come up here, create some kind of bearish divergence that's going to continue us on our path down and be in confluence with those red TD9 flashes we have come in. We could come up a little higher than it potentially before we break down. We don't really know just yet. So as of right now, though, I see on the hourly, we are looking for a possible bounce because of this potential bearish, bullish divergence we're getting. But we're going to have to look a little deeper and see if anything kind of makes sense on this being a bounce. Now, I didn't look at the TD9, so I do want to see what's going on. So as you see, we're on an 8 right now, which means our next candle that we get on the hourly is going to be a 9 flash. Now, we've already had quite a few red candles prior. So to me, that kind of tells me that most likely on this hourly, we might actually get a green TD9 flash. Which if we get a green TD9, that's going to definitely make sense to this whole thing being a bullish divergence and a nice bounce. We already got some correction due to that 9 flash on the 4 hourly. Our daily, we need that 9 flash next. That one's most likely going to be a red one. Unfortunately, which would mean tomorrow, if we get a red 9 flash, that would just mean the following day, Tuesday, would be our correction day. So we could get some upside tomorrow and try to see if we can break out of this area here. I mean, this is kind of like an indecision candle that we got here, partially a spinning top look, which usually insinuates downside. So just looking at this hourly, let's just kind of see if we can find like some type of pattern that it's in or something. But it looks like it's rolling up. Definitely. So if we look at this hourly consolidation that we're getting here, it's looking like some type of ascending triangle, or maybe even like a bull pennant or something like that. But I didn't do a measure move of a bull pennant. I just am looking at that now. If this whole green, all these green candles going up, maybe that's like a pole or something. That would be even bigger of a breakout. But seeing that we have a lot of negative sides going on the bigger time frames is kind of showing me that, the highest that we could come up to would be 101.88. That would be another fake break of this channel that we're in. But if we were to break down, for some reason we got a red 9 flash on this hourly, our breakdown would be 85.97, which is getting us a little closer to that channel. So on the MACD here on the hourly, it's not like it looks like it's going to cross tomorrow or anything. It still looks like it's pointing straight down, like we could continue down a little further. So there's a couple, definitely more negative than, it's about 50-50 with the positive signs and the negative signs right now, but maybe a little more bearish signs, in my opinion, for right now. But let's look at the 30-minute chart just to see if we can see anything that's going to happen over the first like hour or two of opening and whatnot. Now, as you see on the 30-minute, we did get that 9 flash, and it was a green flash. So maybe that means that the hourly flash is going to be a green flash. It's going to push us up. Excuse me. Which would bring us to the top of this pattern here, which is at 94.63. So a break above that would be a breakout of this little pattern, which could bring us up to that 101.88. I mean, I could still see us coming up a little higher on this RSI. This is just a 15-minute time frame, so that's even smaller to look even further. But we could catch resistance on that blue line down in the bottom RSI there, which could bring us up. And maybe if we come up and come out of it a little bit, you know, it could bring us up to this $96 level. On the hourly, if we break down below $93, then we're probably looking at, you know, we're getting that support right now at that $93 level. So we got to watch that for our support and watch the 96 as a breakout. But this 4-hourly MACD, you know, doesn't have to go down as soon as it crosses. It can still be up at in the $99 area before it decides to start correcting. But we'll have to see what's going to happen. I've seen MACD negative crosses, and the price still goes up a little bit, and then once it crosses negative, it just creates a sideways movement. But we want to watch a bounce between this $93 and $96 level. Those are your support and resistances right now. And on the 4-hourly, it looks like if we are going to break out of this thing, I do want to move these trend lines a little bit. But, I don't really like the way that those trend lines are drawn in here. Our wicks aren't even touching on this daily. So, let's see if we look at this on a bigger time frame to see the pattern. You got like a $95 level as the potential breakout there of that pattern that we're in, the consolidation pattern, and then the top of this is at 98.12. So we'd need a breakout above that to show us that we're breaking out. But I mean, like I said, even if we do come up in these 98.12 to 101.88 area, I don't think it'll get as high as the 101.88, but we'll see. I think we'll probably just continue to trend in between this $96 to $98 level and then fall below eventually that $93 level. But on this daily, we are getting a nice little bounce. So it's possible we could come back up for one more test of that top of the fib and then come back down and test some support areas. So I know I'm giving you mixed signals here, but you know, it's a little confusing because we have so many negatives and then a couple positives on the smaller time frame. So kind of just giving you guys a bunch of different support levels. And I would say in the morning we would look for some bouncing and some testing of these $96 to $98 level. See if we can continue up to this 101.88 if we can, and then look for a correction after that. And then we'll probably come down to this 84 level once we get up there. So depending on if you're in this to swing trade, if you're in this to, hold long term, I don't know anything about this stock, so I'm just telling you what I'm seeing here. And those are kind of your areas. So if you're going to swing trade this thing and, watch in the morning for a breakdown of the $93 level, if it breaks down below 93, it's possible we could come down to this $85 to $84 level. And then, swing trade it up to the 101.88. Or if we don't break down and we break above the $96 level, then you could potentially, if it's find support there, you could potentially trade it up to the 101 area, 100 level, something like that, and then be prepared to sell it and then rebuy down at the $85 level. So that's just where I'm at with this. And, leave some comments below and like the video, subscribe to me, and give me some more ideas. I'll look at many more stocks for you. All right, that's all I got. Peace.